What's up guys and welcome back to my channel. In our first news, Frankie Edgar is furious with BKFC after being pulled from his scheduled fight against Jimmy Rivera at BKFC 82. BKFC president David Feldman claimed the decision was made due to medical issues, but Frankie says that's not the truth. According to him, he passed all of his medicals, and the real issue was that the promotion simply failed to send the paperwork to the commission on time. Frankie explained that he had been in full training camp for 6 to 7 weeks, preparing for the fight. Just a week out, his manager Ali received an email from someone at BKFC saying the owner was leaving for Manchester and didn't have his phone on him. The message stated that based on the recommendation of their doctor, Frankie wouldn't be allowed to fight due to his age, consecutive TKO losses, his layoff, and his record. But what made it worse for him was the fact that he had passed every single medical test. He said he did a ton of medicals, and the promotion was trying to claim they weren't receiving them, which he called complete nonsense. He said they had every single document, but they didn't forward them to the commission. Frankie personally contacted people at the commission, and they told him, "We don't have your medicals," which meant he couldn't be cleared to fight. He gathered everything again and sent it over. And the commission doctor reviewed the medicals and told him, "You look fantastic." By then, the fight was already off, and the frustration had boiled over. Frankie made it clear that he never even asked for this fight. It was BKFC who approached him first. That's why this entire situation feels like such a betrayal to him. He said, they came to me, dude. They came to me. I didn't call them asking to fight. This is just shady, bro. He admitted that shady things can happen in the fight game, but he emphasized that this kind of situation would never happen in the UFC. He said the UFC wouldn't be where it is today if they operated in such a careless way. To make matters worse, Frankie had gone above and beyond in promoting the fight. He did media work, podcasts, appearances, and even hosted a watch party. He attended a Devils game to promote the event and adjusted his schedule to support the promotion. In his words, he did everything they wanted, and in return, they dogged him in his own home state. Frankie admitted he's trying not to let it consume him, but the disappointment is clear in his voice. He feels disrespected and blindsided after doing everything right on his end. He called the situation a bad look for BKFC, pointing out how unprofessional the whole ordeal has been. For a veteran like Frankie Edgar, being treated this way is not just frustrating, it's deeply personal. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to help support the channel. Moving on to another news, UFC veteran Matt Brown isn't buying the UFC's handling of Conor's 18-month suspension. After the promotion officially cut ties with USADA, it introduced a brand new anti-doping program run by CSAD, an agency fully funded by the UFC itself. While the organization insists CSAD operates independently under the direction of George Piro, Brown remains deeply skeptical. Speaking on The Fighter vs. the Writer, Brown openly questioned the legitimacy of Conor's suspension and the overall integrity of a system completely controlled by the UFC. He said, UFC controls the doping. Who's to say they're not letting certain people dope and not even saying anything? They could absolutely be doing it and just not saying anything. Do I think they're doing that? It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant whether they are or not. If they have the power to do it, that's what matters. Brown made it clear he's not pointing fingers at any specific fighter, but he's more concerned about the structure itself. I don't know what it's going to take for fighters to step up. I don't know if it's possible for fighters to ever step up and be like, yo, this is some bullshit. He then brought up a hypothetical situation to highlight his point. You're going to tell me if the UFC is controlling the doping, and they're doing a White House card next year, and they say Conor fails a test the week before. Are they not going to be like, all right, Conor, we can't really say anything right now. What the hell are they going to do? Are they going to pull Conor from the White House event? Or if John Jones is the main event and Alex Pereira and those guys both piss hot the week before, are they just going to stop the main event for the White House card? Brown strongly believes this is exactly why the UFC decided to get rid of USADA and bring everything under its own control. In his view, it's about power, not fairness, and the fighters are left with little to no voice in how the system operates. Moving on to another news, just 10 days after his dominant win over Cory Sandhagen at UFC 320, Merab is already back in the gym, wasting absolutely no time. Instead of taking it easy or easing back into training, he's jumped straight into sparring. The energy is intense and Merab looks like a man on a mission. Fresh off one of the most impressive performances of his career, he's clearly not slowing down. In a short clip, Merab can be seen in full gear, throwing combinations, moving forward with pressure, and pushing his training partners. With a big smile on his face, he shouted, "I'm back, mother! Let's go!" showing exactly why fans love his relentless spirit. He then turned his attention toward his next target, saying, "December 6th, Peter, come to us and I'm waiting for you." The crowd around him erupted with excitement, and his team seemed fired up as well. Merab's work ethic continues to set him apart from the rest of the division, proving why he's one of the most feared bantamweights in the game. 10 days off wasn't a vacation for him. It was just a quick pause before the grind started again. Moving on to another news, Garry didn't hold back when talking about Leon Edwards during a fiery interview with Ariel Helwani. The Irish welterweight made it very clear how he feels about the former champion, calling him done and saying he was shocked that Leon even accepted his Leon's upcoming fight against Carlos Bratz. Garry confidently stated that Leon has no chance of winning and suggested it might be the end of the road for him in MMA. He spoke with absolute certainty, saying, "I think he's absolutely staggering. Not even close." When asked if he believes Leon is done, Garry doubled down, saying, "I've been saying this for a long time, my friend. I think he should be retired, and we might see that." For Garry, this isn't just talk, it's how he genuinely sees the fight going. He admitted he was surprised Leon took the fight at all, considering how long he's been talking about wanting to face a top striker. Now that he has that opportunity, Garry believes Leon is walking straight into a beating. Garry made it clear that, in his opinion, Carlos is going to absolutely punch round Leon. He showed zero hesitation, almost laughing at the idea of Leon pulling off the win. But what stood out even more was his attitude about potentially never facing Leon himself. He said he wouldn't be bothered at all if Leon decided to hang up the gloves without ever fighting him. Garry explained his reasoning, saying he has no interest in giving Leon any kind of financial benefit from sharing the cage with him. "I have no interest ever for him to earn any money off me doing all the hard work of being the more interesting fighter," he said. He emphasized that Leon hasn't done anything to deserve that opportunity, adding that if they ever fought, he'd make sure Leon walked away with nothing. "I'd fight him on a heartbeat if he was willing to fight me for all or nothing," Garry declared. "I'd make sure he'd leave there absolutely punched round, unconscious, and then leave with no benefit." His words carried the cold confidence of someone who truly believes in his own rise and sees Leon as part of the past, not the future. He finished by saying he has no desire to ever see Leon or his team again. This wasn't just typical fight promotion, it was personal. Garry made it very clear that he has zero respect for Leon Edwards and believes his time at the top is over. Moving on to another news, Belal Muhammad has fired shots at Garry, accusing him of avoiding a 5-round fight. The two are set to clash soon, but Belal isn't happy about the way things are being handled. Taking to X, he called out Garry directly, saying, "Ian, you can't call for a title fight if you're afraid to make the fight 5 rounds." His words quickly caught fire, sparking conversation across the MMA community. A fan jumped in, asking whether the fight was actually not scheduled for 5 rounds. Belal wasted no time clearing that up, responding that Garry wouldn't agree to it unless it was a 3-round fight. The tone in his post made it clear he believes Garry isn't ready for the championship-level grind and intensity that comes with a 5-round war. This kind of back and forth is nothing new between the two, but the timing adds extra heat with their matchup approaching. Belal seems to be using every opportunity to question Garry's toughness and mindset, making their fight even more personal. Even Bisping weighed in, reacting to the situation with interest, clearly entertained by the brewing tension. Moving on to another news, Anik has shared his thoughts on why he believes all the pressure is sitting squarely on Tom Aspinall's shoulders ahead of his heavyweight title defense against Ciryl Gane at UFC 321. Speaking on the broadcast, Anik explained that this moment might be one of the biggest pressure spots in recent UFC history. The stage is massive, the expectations are sky high, and everything seems to be pointing toward a defining night for the champion. But I can't think of a bigger pressure spot in recent UFC memory, Anik said. 12 days until one of the biggest moments in UFC history as Tom Aspinall makes the first defense of his undisputed heavyweight title in Abu Dhabi. Given what the last 2 years have held for Tom, he's fought only about 60 seconds in that time. Remember, he missed an entire year due to injury after that fight with Curtis Blades. This is a huge moment for him. Anik pointed out how Tom's lack of activity adds even more weight to the situation. He's stepping in to defend the belt for the very first time against Ciryl Gane, a fighter known for his technical striking and tricky style. Ciryl is a very challenging heavyweight to fight in some respects, maybe a little less in others, but the pressure is all on Tom, Anik added. He went on to say that if Aspinall were to lose, it would be a massive upset. If Moano can't afford to lose, then how would we describe Tom Aspinall's lack of affordability to suffer a loss on October 25th? It would be a massive upset. I think on the level of a Matt Serra upset over Georges St. Pierre. For him to lose to Ciryl Gane would be wild. It would be crazy news, he said. Anik also mentioned how the UFC seems to be looking at Aspinall as the next big star in the heavyweight division. The company is clearly investing in him as a face of the future. A loss at this stage would derail a lot of that momentum and create shockwaves throughout the division. As the fight approaches, all eyes are on Tom Aspinall to see if he can handle the weight of the moment and deliver under immense pressure. Moving on to another news, Khamzat has officially called out Alex Pereira for a potential showdown at light heavyweight. In a recent interview with Aslam Badv, Khamzat made it clear that he's more than ready to move up to 205 pounds and challenge for a second UFC title. Confident and calm as always, he expressed that Alex is a great matchup for him, and he truly believes he can take that belt and become a double champ. If you ask me, of course I would love to fight for the second belt, Khamzat said. It's no secret the guy who's got the belt at 205 now is a very good matchup for me, except if I get reckless standing with him. They say he has a lot of power, but I've never been edged out in that area. He used to fight at 185 too, and then moved up to 205. So I would like to fight at light heavyweight. Khamzat sounded fearless, brushing off the talk about Alex's knockout power and size. To him, a fight at 205 isn't about avoiding danger but embracing it. He made it clear that this kind of challenge excites him, and he wants to prove himself against the best. But whatever they give me, Nasruddin, Ditter, or Hernandez, I don't care. Just pay me some good money, he continued. When you take it so easy, I've always been like that. If you consider yourself the best, you shouldn't care who you have to fight. With Alex reigning as one of the most dangerous strikers in the sport right now, a matchup against Khamzat would be explosive. Khamzat has always carried that aura of fearlessness, and this call-out only adds fuel to the fire. Whether the UFC pulls the trigger on this blockbuster clash remains to be seen, but one thing's for sure. Khamzat is ready to go to war at 205 pounds. Moving on to another news, Cory Sandhagen has made it clear that he wants a massive fight on the upcoming UFC White House card, and the man he's calling out is none other than Sean O'Malley. Leading up to his recent title fight with Merab, Sandhagen had already mentioned that defending the belt against Sean was one of his dream matchups. Even though he came up short in that title bout, he hasn't backed down from that vision. During an appearance on the Ariel Helwani show this week, Sandhagen revealed that his sights are firmly set on facing the former champion. He said, "I think that me and Sean has to happen. There it is. That's the one. If there's ever a time to do it, man, it's now. I don't know if he's booked on anything, but that White House card would be sick to fight on against Sean. I think that there's one fight in the division that people are really calling for over and over again, and it's me and Sean. If you threw us on that White House card, I think that would be such a gigantic fight." While Cory is eager to make the matchup happen, he also admitted that the card is still a little far away. "It's kind of a ways away, you know, so I'm not stoked on that," he explained. "But for such a huge card against such a good fighter, and a really big opportunity for both of us to give the fans what they really want to see, it'd be worth waiting for. So that's what I want." However, despite Cory's strong call-out, a fight between the two may not be next. During a recent livestream on Douyin, the Chinese version of TikTok, Song Yadong announced that he'll be fighting Sean either on the UFC 324 card or UFC 325 early next year. That potential matchup may push Sandhagen's hopes further down the line. Even though he came up short against Merab, Cory had nothing but respect for the champion. He praised Merab's quick turnaround and willingness to fight again in December. "Merab is an animal for that," Cory said. "All the respect in the world for that because he doesn't have to do that, but he wants to. That dude is a unique individual. Good for him for fighting again that soon because I would never do that." While the loss was tough, Sandhagen is determined to bounce back, rebuild momentum, and earn himself another shot at UFC gold. For now, his message is clear. He wants Sean O'Malley on that historic White House card. Moving on to another news, Bisping got brutally honest while reacting to Charles Oliveira's statement win over Mateusz Gamrot at UFC Rio. Just months ago, Oliveira suffered a brutal knockout loss to Ilya, and many questioned whether it was too soon for him to step back into the cage. But once again, he silenced the doubters in typical fashion. Speaking on his Believe You Me podcast, Bisping couldn't help but praise the way Oliveira handled business inside the Octagon. He reminded everyone that heading into this fight, people were concerned. "We all know he got knocked out against Ilya by doing what Charles Oliveira does, walking people down, being aggressive, being reckless, being exciting," Bisping said. "What does he do now? Does he change it? Does he say, I'm gonna be a little more methodical, set things up, take my time, stick and move?" No, he walks him down with reckless abandon, throwing knees, punches, kicks, elbows. Bisping emphasized how remarkable it was that Oliveira didn't back down from what makes him dangerous. Instead of switching his approach, he doubled down on it. Gamrot came in prepared, but Oliveira's pace, pressure, and violent striking overwhelmed him. "That's why you've got to love this guy, man," Bisping continued. "After what he just went through with a lot of people saying, oh, it's too early, I was like, no, it's not. It's been 3 or 4 months. The guy's a fighter. He wants to eradicate that loss. He wants to show the world he's not finished yet." Bisping acknowledged there would always be people on the outside, analysts, doctors, critics, who would say fighters need more time to recover. But to him, fighters like Oliveira are just built differently. "I'm sure there's some scientific buffoons out there, some doctors or whatever, saying technically you need a certain amount of time and blah blah blah. No, we're cut from a different cloth. He's a fighter. He's fine. He's good." And Oliveira proved exactly that. He walked Gamrot down, broke him with pressure, and delivered a dominant performance that reminded everyone why he's still one of the most dangerous lightweights on the planet. Bisping ended his thoughts with pure admiration, saying, "He just proved it. Destroyed Gamrot. I mean, man, unreal." This was a statement win from Charles Oliveira, one that not only put him back in the mix, but also showed why doubting him is never a good idea. Moving on to another news, Cory Sandhagen has shared his honest reaction to Merab's lightning-fast turnaround, as the bantamweight contender gears up to face Peter Yan at UFC 323. In a recent interview with Ariel Helwani, Cory opened up about what happened in his fight with Merab and how he underestimated the Georgian's striking power. He admitted that things took a sudden turn when Merab connected clean in the second round, nearly finishing him with a flurry of heavy shots. Cory started strong in the opening frame, landing clean jabs and moving well, but everything changed after that big exchange. Reflecting on the moment, Cory said he didn't expect Merab Merab to hit that hard. He explained how a simple mistake cost him badly, admitting that if one of his own fighters had made that same error, he would have been the first to call it out. He described the situation clearly, saying, "Dude, don't try to catch him in between his punches against the cage. That's a bad idea." Cory broke down the moment technically, pointing out how difficult it can be to defend with those small MMA gloves. There's almost no room for error, and timing becomes everything. He recalled throwing a left hook at the exact same time Merab launched his right hand. The shot clipped off the top of his head, spinning him for a second, and in that instant, the fight's momentum shifted completely. Cory acknowledged that it was a clean and powerful shot, something he hadn't fully prepared for. "It was totally just a left hook," he said. "I threw a left hook at the same time that he threw a right hand, and it just bounced off the top of my head and sent me spinning. There's such little room for error with those gloves." Despite the setback, Cory didn't shy away from giving Merab full credit. He praised his strength, toughness, and relentlessness, calling him a strong, hard-hitting guy who surprised him with how heavy his hands were. He also highlighted Merab's mentality and praised his willingness to get right back into another fight just days after a dominant performance. Cory spoke with respect and even admiration, saying, "Yeah, he's an animal for that. All the respect in the world for that because he doesn't have to do that, but he wants to. That dude is a unique individual, and good for him for fighting again that soon, because I would never do that." Cory Sandhagen's reaction perfectly sums up the grit and drive that make Merab one of the most dangerous fighters in the division. His quick turnaround to face Pereira on December 6th shows his relentless mindset and hunger to keep proving himself at the top.